Afternoon, VC. All right, so I just got done watching this fantastic documentary, DVD, Nightclubbing, The Birth of Punk Rock in New York City. It's about Max's Kansas City. Tons of stuff that went down in this club that I had no idea about. Great interviews in this, no holds barred. You just get the truth about a lot of shit. It's really cool. And it got me thinking about a venue here in Charlotte, which was kind of my home away from home for a long time. And that's Tremont Music Hall. I moved here in 1995. Tremont opened that year. So for the first 20 years of me being here in Charlotte, all the best shows would come to Tremont. Now, there are other good venues in Charlotte, don't get me wrong, but Penny Craver, who started Tremont, did a hell of a job with booking. Anybody who wasn't big enough for, the outdoor amphitheater pretty much would stop at Tremont in the rock world or heavy music scene. And so it was a big, big place for me. Developed a lot of friendships there that go on to this day. I was a roadie in a band that played there, so that was a part of it too. But and then I got into filming bands in the year 2000, and Penny was great about letting me roll up in there with a bunch of gear and set up a table next to the soundboard and film in the main room. All she asked is I had permission from the band or was hired by the band or what have you. So it was really cool place. I've got a lot of footage of bands from Tremont from over the years. 2 stages in there. The Casbah is what was the stage called on the left. Smaller stage, lower to the ground. The main room was an elevated stage. It could fit a lot more people in the main room. Kind of more of like a cement floor, warehouse feel in the main room. And it always sounded phenomenal in there. Blue did a hell of a job on sound when he was there on the soundboard. I didn't know the second owner after Penny sold Tremont. I didn't know him very well. But our friend Lisa was doing the booking at that time, and she did a hell of a job keeping it going as long as it did until I guess it was more lucrative to sell out to self-storage spaces or what have you that's there now. Maybe condos, I don't know. But when they bulldozed the place, I did get a brick from the building, and it is engraved. And also at the demolition site, my friend Joe and I went up there and picked up a bunch of wood for our friend Yankee to make dog tags out of the wood from the building of Tremont. And in my thumbnail here on this video, you'll see that is the main light switch for the main room. I salvaged that out of the rubble as well, and that's in this house. So yeah, it's like I said, very important place for me. It's weird that it's gone. It really is. But as the music has changed over the years in Charlotte, the venues have kind of shifted for me. Like after Tremont left, it became a lot more shows at Milestone, and now I haven't been going to Milestone hardly at all. I've been going to Snug Harbor. Snug Harbor stepped up its game as far as booking. So that's kind of, as far as local, smaller gigs, kind of what the deal is now. We do have Fillmore in the Underground here for a lot of the bands that would have gone through Tremont back in the day, or that, at least of that stature. But yeah, Tremont Music Hall, 20 years, and what I'm going to do is I just pulled some records I have of bands, and I tried to keep it to those tours that I saw at Tremont, so you can kind of get an idea of the bands that came through there. These are kind of in alphabetical order, some of these, but this is a band I filmed in the main room. There was a Solid State Records label showcase. This is a band from Winston-Salem. It's a fantastic band, Beloved Us, and their album Failure On. Very difficult record to get nowadays. Joe Mustin, he was cool as hell, this dude. He was drummer and one of the screamers. Real heavy band. but melodic, really good stuff. Solid State being like a Christian rock label. There were a lot of good bands at this time doing cool things. A lot of the years I'm going to forget because it's been so long. But yeah, really good stuff. There's a video on my YouTube channel that I took from that gig, if you want to check it out. Place was packed, went crazy for them. And I think they got back together recently, maybe. I don't know. Here's a band my friend Joe Sloan recorded audio-wise at Tremont. He just rolled up in there with his audio gear one night, mics and a big old tape deck, and just set up unannounced. Just rolled in there like he owned the place. And this band played the Casbah, and it was their first tour. Great band from Los Angeles, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and they would go on to be huge. And this is the music on vinyl press of the first record. Red Eyes and Tears, Whatever Happened to My Rock and Roll Punk Song, Spread Your Love. Great songs on this. You can hear the bottles clanking in the big old green trash cans that used to be in the Casbah, the side stage at Tremont when they played in there. I have the recording of that gig. Can't remember what year. Maybe 1999 or 2000. Maybe 2001, somewhere around there. Here's a band that my friend, speaking of Joe, we went and saw this band in the main room on this tour, and that's Cave In from the Boston area, and they were touring this album, Perfect Pitch Black, which got some good heavy songs on it, and this is an extremely difficult record to find. I looked for about 8 or so years online for my friend Joe, because he really wanted a copy, and it was pricey, and more than I wanted to pay at the time. And the original pressing was on gold wax, maybe only 100 pressed or a few hundred pressed, and he found one in Sweden, I think, somewhere over there, and was able to get it, and it came mint shape, so he was stoked about that. And I ended up finding the silver second press, just as difficult to find years later. Took me a few more years to find this. And they played a few songs of this recently on their tour in Asheville. I was surprised. But yeah, that was a great show. We got to meet some of the guys in the band. They were at the merch table. They had toured with Foo Fighters before this, which was a huge tour for them. And I think they expected to get bigger off of that tour, but Foo Fighters was so massive that they were just kind of an underthought, I think, for a lot of people. And so that style they did on the album Antenna, they kind of ditched it and went back to their heavier stuff, which was a shame. They're doing more rocking groove stuff now, which is cool. But yeah, Cave In. Next up, this band. This is the only band that I saw a barricade set up in front of the main stage in the main room. That's Local H, and they were touring As Good as Dead, two-piece from Illinois. At the time, it was Scott Lucas and Joe Daniels on the drums. He's had a lot of different drummers over the years, but this show was phenomenal. They were huge on the radio at the time because of the hits Bound for the Floor, High-Fiving Motherfucker, for example. And so they were expecting chaos in there, and had, like I said, the only time I ever saw a barricade in there. And it was a pretty intense show. So much so that when they came off stage, Joe, the drummer, made a beeline for the bathroom, and he wasn't coming out, so I went and checked on him. He was in there throwing up. And when he came out, I was like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, it was just an intense gig. And I ended up talking to Scott Lucas from this band. I was trying to pick his brain about his setup because it blew my mind, because it was just a two-piece. And he was playing through a bass rig and a guitar rig at the same time through one SG guitar. And he told me how he did it, and so I went to Reliable Music here in Charlotte at the time. It was a great guitar store, and I had the old man there rig my guitar just like Scott Lucas's guitar. So yeah, because we lost the bass player in my band, Jarvis, at the time, so I was like, well, I guess I need to get more low end out of the band somehow, so that's what I did. But yeah, Local H, they autographed my ticket and everything that night. That was a great gig. Very influential on me, obviously. Next, here's a band that used to play the RTA House here in Charlotte, which is this whole bicycle group or gang or whatever you want to call them. Worked at bike shops and stuff. It was this whole fixie bicycle scene here in Charlotte, which is kind of dumb because it's a really hilly town. Anyway, they were friends with a lot of bands though, and would get bands to play there, and so it'd be fun to go over to the RTA House and see some bands. And we saw this band there, Look Mexico from Tallahassee, and they were just phenomenal. And then the more they started gigging, the more they'd come up to Charlotte, and they got big enough to play Tremont, and they played the Casbah, and they were playing this album, To Bed to Battle, and this is phenomenal. And they're kind of a mathy, jammy band from Florida, and really nice guys. I got to film them at the old Lunchbox location, and those videos are on my channel here, going back about 14 years ago, and or so, and they've gotten the most views of anything I've ever done on YouTube. Really good band. I don't think they're still together, but they were together for a while. Saw a lot of heavy bands at Tremont, this being one of them a few times. Norma Jean from Atlanta, more of that heavy Christian stuff on Solid State. This is their album, Oh God, The Aftermath, one of my favorites of theirs. This would have been later on in the Tremont days in the main room. This is from 2015, so about the last year Tremont was open. Some of the best heavier songs from them on here. Really good crunching guitars, like really good guitars. Yeah, really intense band, really good. They've been around a long time, still going. I saw this band in the Casbah. I was surprised they weren't playing the main stage, but this to me is their masterpiece record. One of my favorite bands of all time. I got to film this band at Local 506 in Chapel Hill on Franklin Street. From Chicago, Pelican, and their album City of Echoes. This tour was in the Casbah, and there was maybe 30 people there that night. And I think it was like a middle of the week or something, because my friend Joe couldn't even go. I went by myself, and I stood toe-to-toe with Trevor, and he's playing his guitar with the bow. I mean, it was a mind-blowing gig. One of the best I've ever seen at Tremont was Pelican, just heavy instrumental stuff, no vocals. More heavy stuff. I went with my friend Yankee to see Poison the Well from Miami, Florida, main room. A lot of people there for them. One of the better heavy bands from that time period. You Come Before You, just a crushingly great record. This is a difficult record to find on Trustkill from 2003. Yeah, iconic cover too. Really good band. Love the guitars from that band as well. This was a band I was very excited to see in the Casbah. Rival Schools from New York, and they were touring United by Fate. This is a phenomenal record. There was a lot of good bands that night. Civ was there, and they were great. And I don't have any other stuff. I need to get some. And this band from Jersey, who was new at the time, just cutting their teeth. This band Thursday, and they spawned a whole scene, and a scene that took off in Charlotte. That was a great gig, and I'll get to Thursday later. But at Rival Schools, Walter Schreifel's in that band from Gorilla Biscuits, Quicksand. He's a legend for me in music, and when he walked off stage, I got to shake his hand. That's like a highlight of going to shows for me in my life. This band played Tremont a lot, played the main room a lot. Sparta, and this is their album Wiretap Scars. This is a freaking amazing record. Of course, Sparta was part of the breakup of At the Drive-In from Texas. This is from, originally from 2002 on DreamWorks. Assemble the Empire, Glasshouse Terra are just unbelievable songs. Great rock band. Sparta, From the Ashes of At the Drive-In. Of course, the the other part was Mars Volta, but these guys were just as good. Yeah, I know I saw the tour for Threes as well, Tremont. And then also, and you'll know us by the Trail of Dead from Austin, Texas. Main Room, those guys party when they gig. They get hammered. They were going shot for shot with freaking teenage girls at the bar at Tremont the one night, and the drummer didn't even make the first song. He was still doing shots at the bar when the show started. Luckily, they had a double drums thing going on that night, so one of the guys went back. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, this is Worlds Apart, another difficult record now to get. And with Trail of Dead, they always open with an epic song on every album. So yeah, that's kind of their MO. I've actually been on stage with them, my friend Joe and I, in Carborough at Cat's Cradle, jumping around. Got some CDs here, because a lot of this era was CD era for me during the Tremont days. Good heavy band from the Baltimore, D.C. area, Nothing Face, and their album Violence, from 2000 on TVT Records. Band I roadied 4 to 5 times down, I think played one of the shows at Tremont with these guys, possibly. That might have been the same night. It's been a long time. My memory's kind of shot, but I just remember these being cool, really cool dudes. Here's a band my friend Ryan Parrish from Hopesfall started after that band kind of broke up. Celebrity from Nashville and their album Lovesick, really good record. Yeah, and I ended up being able to film them in Columbia, South Carolina the night Johnny Cash passed away. That was a big deal. This is on Doghouse Records from back in the day. I think they're still going, as a matter of fact, in some capacity. Lance Black, and then who else is in this band? I think there's the rhythm section are brothers. Really good. Everybody's phenomenal on their instruments. The Fine brothers, Matt and Jesse Fine, really cool people. It's been years since I've seen them. Here's a band no one ever talks about from Denver that I saw at Tremont. They were kind of, I can't remember, they were kind of mathy, but really good. The Photo Atlas, No Not Me Never was the album. Never hear anybody talk about them, from 2007. Some good stuff on this. I think like Sam, the Vinyl Douche, would dig this one. Here's a legendary band that just broke up recently, which is disappointing. Every Time I Die. This is their album Gutter Phenomenon. I've got a few vinyl records of theirs, but later stuff. When they toured this album, this is the best one for me. And it's cool. Andy Williams, I was hanging out with him at Tremont at the bar. It's a small world. My friend Eric Rochevaux lives down here. He's originally from Buffalo and North Tonawanda specifically, and his sister was in the same class through high school as Andy Williams, and we talked about it. So goddamn small world. Sick guitars, and I don't know what the brothers are doing, but they need to reconcile and get that shit back together. Here's a one-off band from England that played Tremont, which was surprising. Kind of a one-hit wonder, Low Fidelity All-Stars, and this is How to Operate with a Blown Mind. I've always kept this because I saw this gig. There's a really good video from off of this too. Yeah, I don't know, this was interesting stuff. Late 90s. Another one of the heavy bands from that Solid State tour, Christian stuff, Dead Poetic, New Medicines. I don't know whatever came of them, but this was a really good one from 2004. Good heavy stuff. This band, I think, is still going. They're freaking killer. Under Oath. This is their only Chasing Safety. Through my friend Pat, who was playing bass in Hopesfall at the time, I was going to film this band in the Casbah. I had all my gear with me, and I had a tape. And something happened with the tape and it wouldn't record. Because back then, with video equipment, we aren't where we are now, where you can just do it all with your phone. You know, it was like a high 8 camera or a DV camera. Nothing was fully digital yet. So, or I couldn't afford fully digital yet, or whatever the case was. I was filming with stuff that ran on tape, and I couldn't get the camera to record them that night. It was a shame, or I'd have that footage, but it was still a great gig, under oath. From Florida, I believe, as well. This band kind of sucked. 18 Visions. They were probably on that same gig that night. But this is their album Obsession. I've always kept this because I had a couple good songs I liked. Kind of heavy. I don't know if you call it screamo or whatever the hell. This band started the whole emo thing and the white belt crowd and the kicks and all the crazy stuff. They were on that show with Rival Schools and Civ from New Jersey Thursday, and their album Full Collapse. They were really, really good. They were the first to really have that sound on Victory Records. They sparked a whole thing. Their album after this was okay, but after that they became a toilet. So this is kind of really their only great record, in my opinion. Thursday, yeah, that was a hell of a gig. Here's a really fucking heavy band. One of the loudest bands I've ever heard that was on the main stage. Killswitch Engage. This is The End of Heartache. Probably my favorite of theirs. I've got a bunch of their CDs on Roadrunner Records. Wow. Killswitch. They're killer guitars. Killer. That's one of the best shows I saw in the main room. Here's a band that we used to tour with quite a bit from Atlanta. Rap Rock. Stuck Mojo. And their album Pig Walk. Really cool dudes. Always had a lot of really good weed with them. Here's a band. They kind of got big quick and then disappeared. I don't remember what the deal was with them. They were good. I saw them on Ozfest too, but saw them in the main room at Tremont, Ultraspank. Kind of a dumb name for a band, but they were fucking really good. Heavy band, you know, Ozfest type band. So now we get into some local stuff, like local Charlotte stuff that I would have saw at Tremont. So my friend Cheetah's band that he played in, Etheric, they got pretty big for a minute. I don't really know what to compare them to. I can't remember the name of the one band that was similar. Female vocal. Melodic, rock, really good. And they won the Jack Black's contest to be on one of the big stages at any Summer Weenie Roast or whatever the deal was. They were really good. They got pretty big in this town. They had a good draw. Got a band here. Love these guys. The Dameron Brothers. Mr. Brian Beaver on drums. My friend Yankee on vocals. Severed the Tie. One of my favorite bands ever from Charlotte. Well, most of the guys were from Hickory, but yeah, 2004. Some of the better songs my friend Yankee ever wrote on this EP. I actually gave them this name. I was driving out to practice in Hickory, and that was going to be the night they were going to name the band, and we're throwing names around, and Sever the Tie was the name of a song I wrote back in the 90s, and it just seemed like it would fit as heavy as they were. Really good heavy guitars. And yeah, so that's what they, I threw it at them and they loved it, so Sever the Tie. What else we got? Local stuff. We got Yankees band before Sever the Tie, and that was the rap rock genius of Five Times Down, the band I roadied for many years. My friend Joe Sloan on bass, Cheetah on drums. And yeah, Brown Tooth Records. Looking Down the Barrel, the first song, ended up on a big movie. And let's see, I haven't looked at some of this stuff in a while. But Brett's guitars really drew me into this band. And the clown logo that we'd have on the t-shirts right there. Yeah, the Rage Carry 2 soundtrack. The beginning of that movie when the alarm goes off, Looking Down the Barrel plays. The $10,000 song. Stephen King. Played some really big gigs. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Their other album was Let the Games Begin when my friend Joe left. One of the gigs, my friend Jay came to that gig. Was probably one of the biggest gigs, if not the biggest to ever happen at Tremont. WizKid was playing in the band doing DJ stuff. And of course they had a new bass player. But they were still pretty good with this record, Let the Games Begin. And the line went out to the woods past the parking lot, and there was like a bonfire going out in the woods. I'm pretty sure the fire department came, or the fire marshal, and it was crazy. It was so many people in there. It was almost impossible to get a drink at the bar. It was just slam packed. It was it was over capacity. Just for a local rap rock band. That was awesome to see. Yeah, that was a hell of a night. We got another huge band from Charlotte, Hopesfall, that a lot of people would know, in the heavy kind of screamo scene. This is No Wings to Speak Of, this EP, when my friend Captain Pat played bass. We worked together at Best Buy for a few years. Great guy. And yeah, they were really good freaking band. Hopesfall. I filmed them in the main room. And some of that video is up on this channel. Then you get to probably the best band, or a lot of our favorite. It's our favorite band from Charlotte ever, and that's Spite. This is the album Bastard Complex. Just great, heavy shit. They were crazy on stage. And it's funny, Penny, the owner of Tremont, would not let the drummer play like he normally liked to play, and that was naked. So yeah, so Byron would have to wear a thong on the main stage at Tremont, unlike at Fat City where he'd be buck naked. And at Fat City there was a curtain behind the stage, and sometimes the curtain would be open to the street, so anybody who was walking at night down the street could look in and see the band playing, and there he is, and he just stand up, balls out, dinky flapping around at the gig. And yeah, Josh, the bass player, would come out in the crowd and just throw his bass at you, like physically, like they were phenomenal. Our friend John Crumpton played guitar for them for a long time. May he rest in peace. And then they had Dan during this gig, and he wasn't as good as John. He did a good job on this record, but he passed away on tour with them in Texas. I think he was doing a bunch of shit and took K on top of it, and the guys went into some place for breakfast or something, and they thought he was just asleep in the back of the van, and they came out and he was like blue and he was gone. Crazy stuff. And one last local band that I saw at Tremont, in the Casbah a lot, was Swift, from Winston-Salem, and they were a really good heavy band. This is their album on Tribunal Records. I think I saw this tour, but I think it was more a Waging War tour, the album before. And the drummer of this band is a hell of a sound engineer up in Winston and records a lot of bands still to this day. Jamie King. But yeah, good dudes. But yeah, those are just some of the things I still have. I think the biggest shows I ever saw at Tremont in the main room, I don't have stuff from anymore, which is odd. I sold a lot of CDs over the years, so all my Dinosaur Jr. stuff is gone. I saw them at Tremont in the main room, sold out. Weezer on the Pinkerton tour, that was elbow to elbow, and I'm skinny and I still couldn't move anywhere. That was insane. They played Pinkerton cover to cover, every song, and they also played 2 songs off the album prior, the Sweater song or whatever. That was a hell of a gig, really, and they played phenomenal. Primus, Pork Soda tour, also elbow to elbow. That was crazy. I know the Blur show was nuts, but nothing was as big as that 5 Times Down gig. There was bonfires. That was absolutely bonkers. But yeah, so that's a long video, but I wanted to pay homage to Tremont Music Hall. I hope you're all well. There she... I'm out of my show. Peace.